doctor of the future will no longer treat the human frame with drugs, but rather will cure and prevent disease with nutrition.
We have a broad-based set of integrative approaches to healthcare. The one that I'm particularly passionate about among all of these, well, I'm passionate about all of them, but particularly about nutrition and food as medicine.
It's a perfect lead-in. Tell us about Ayurvedic medicine. I know you're a medical doctor, a Western medical certified doctor, but you also have a big focus on Ayurvedic medicine, and not necessarily everyone understands or knows what that means.
So I did my medical training in the conventional Western medical model, and then got out into practice. I'm board certified in family medicine, so I practiced for many years and realized I didn't really have all the tools that I needed to help people. And my parents are from India, and so I knew a little bit about Ayurveda. You know, I thought it was kind of home remedies and things like that. And at somewhere when I decided to learn a different way of helping people heal, Ayurveda really resonated with me. It's, a mind, body, spirit approach to medicine. So it's a thousands-year-old health and healing system. So it's a very comprehensive healing system that incorporates many, many different modalities. But really the foundation in Ayurveda is that food is your medicine and digesting your food. And so, there are lots of quotes and different sayings in Ayurveda about how important it is to eat properly and have good digestion. And that's the core of your health. And then everything else is complementary. But it's a really rich medical healing system that's really based on prevention as well as the root. And then there are lots of treatments for health conditions when they happen, but the principles are based on prevention and empowering people to be their own healers.
That's the thing I think that interested me when you and I first chatted, is that Western medicine often deals with the symptoms of the problem. You're treating the symptoms, whereas Ayurveda would say that's number 6, and we go back and start at step 1. And I think that's really fascinating, thinking about prevention, or perhaps if you're on a certain trajectory, it doesn't mean that you're predestined to end up there. You can take steps and in your diet and your activity and eliminating toxins and so on to change that. And I think that's really fascinating. Now tell us a little bit about what you do at the Gerson Institute.
We were developed as an education and training and information and referral agency for the work to support people that would like to follow Dr. Gerson's work. He was trained as an internist. He was a neurosurgeon. He was a soil scientist in his own right, and he even for a period of time served as the agricultural consultant to the Prussian government at that time, and also the Bavarian government before he came to the United States in the 30s. And he originally developed the Gerson therapy to treat his own migraine headaches. And he did that through a diet elimination program. And then that progressed and developed to his using it to treat skin tuberculosis at that time, and then developed into pulmonary tuberculosis. And soon after that, he was asked to also try it for cancer, which he refused at first because he said, I know nothing about that, and this is so. But he was starting to realize that he had a systemic program here. He came from the attitude and the concept of totality. So he looked at everything. He looked at the air quality issues, the water issues, besides the nutrition. It had to be fresh, organic. He developed, of course, individual protocols for people, but there were similarities, and some of the basics were just like salt restriction, potassium enhancement, some natural supplementation, protein restriction initially, and continued to develop the program to treat very seriously ill people. So that's where now training doctors around the world in cyberspace in a teleeducation program and expanding our ability to help more people. So it's very exciting to see the interest coming from everywhere with not just that it's necessary to eat healthy, but that it can really be used as a treatment for very, very serious illnesses, to bring the body back into total balance and to move to a vibrancy and a vitality of life.
It's been said that food can either be the best medicine or the slowest poison.
You know, our children are the most vulnerable to these toxins, and they are getting better by changes through diet. In fact, my three sons who are in the back are examples of that. They had life-threatening allergies. My son almost died from pecans in the stuffing on Thanksgiving, and also autism symptoms, asthma, and autoimmune issues, and all of them have recovered through using food in their diet, eating organic, taking care of the gut biome, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and so I know that we can do this as a country. We can recover our children and our families, and we can turn around the food industry and the health in our country.
Let me ask you something, Gordon. It's been my understanding for a long time that nutrition wasn't sort of part of the required curriculum for medical doctors. Is that still the case?
It's changing, although gradually.
Seems a little counterintuitive. I'm just a layperson, but
I mean, we got training in biochemical nutrition. You know, we all had to learn how to recite the Krebs cycle forwards and backwards, 16 times, but that has no clinical, practical application. It's found its way a little bit. They're teaching maybe a little more about the epidemiology, the nutritional epidemiology of heart disease, diabetes, some of the chronic diseases. But
so how food relates to those specific conditions.
yes.
Don't eat this, eat that.
And in some quarters, it's just lip service. In others, there is an effort to try and ingrain it into what people do in practice.
How does that differ from what you do?
We are fully focused on using food either as an adjunct or as the sole therapy for any patient, for any health condition that comes in the door.
You have something that I've seen, a pyramid of what's called, or what you call the therapeutic order. Sort of, if most of us who've been to the doctor had a condition, we know that typically we're told to take this medicine and or potentially have this invasive procedure. That's not where you start. Where do you start?
So years ago, when my dad was sick, when he had developed cancer and trying to find a way to help him, and his doctors at Johns Hopkins told my family that he would likely die in less than a year, I realized Western medicine didn't have the answer. And I just started searching, reading on the old microfilm machines in the bowels of Johns Hopkins Medical Library, and I came across...
They still have those, they do, don't they?
I'm dating myself here.
Me too, it's okay.
My eyes bugged out when I read the story of a physician who had healed himself of advanced prostate cancer through a major change in his diet. And he was as skeptical as anybody, but he had this experience. And I found out about him, and met a community of folks who were doing similar things. Part of me thought that, this is some kind of a strange cult that I'm slipping into, people who claim to be able to use food to treat all these diseases. And yet, when I started to change my own diet to have support from my dad, I realized, wow, I'm feeling better than ever in my life. And I then learned that all of the chronic health conditions that we're facing, the epidemic diseases as well as the chronic ones like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, all have strong nutritional links, strong dietary factors.
Tell us what medical food is, not within your practice, but in general.
Well, generally it's very precise, chemically defined compositions, supplemental foods that are given to people with a very precise, usually FDA-approved definition in mind.
But not real food, then powders, supplements,
They're
liquids.
almost the diametric opposite of real food.
It's sort of one of those ironies, isn't it, that medical food in the medical profession is not food. It's sort of like how vegetables under the Farm Bill are specialty products. I mean, it's one of these things that sort of boggles the mind. So, yeah.
Honestly, the most healing foods are the plants. The other foods, and it's not that you have to be 100% vegetarian, although, there's a huge amount of data that shows that whole food plant-based diet is the healthiest diet as far as prevention of chronic illness, etc. But so if you do have some sort of animal proteins, it should be like a small part of your diet, and enough. It's energy food, but all of the healing foods are plant-based. It's nuts, seeds, vegetables, fruits. A lot of the things that people think they have to cut out for reasons that really are just myths, and that's where the healing foods are. And we need energy foods, of course, which can be from plants as well. But it's very interesting, the balance in the typical American diet is swayed way over to meat.